Hello everyone, I Professor Bhavik Kumar M. Kataria welcomes you into the video series of computer networks. We are discussing unit number 4 network layer, and today it's a last session of network layer. Before today we have discussed virtual circuit and datagram networks. So virtual circuit was look like circuit switching and datagram network was look like packet switching techniques. We have also discussed router in details, how router is working, what is inside the router, what is switch fabric is working inside the router, how input port and output port are working for the router. Then after we moved towards the internet protocol. So in terms of internet protocol, we have discussed class full addressing and class less addressing, as well as we have discussed various numerical examples of subnetting, whereas few categories of subnetting are fixed length subnet mask and variable length subnet mask. Whereas in case of variable length subnet mask, one more variation is that was CIDR, classless interdomain routing. And today we are going to discuss Internet Protocol version 4, Internet Protocol version 6, and few routing algorithms. So let's start with the Internet Protocol version 4. So that is the IPv4 datagram. So total header length is 20 to 60 bytes. Whatever the typically headers are there, so the typically headers are containing size of 20 bytes, and various fields are there as per the 32-bit IPv4 header. These fields are divided into the specific size. So first here we are starting with the version. So first thing, VER, that is stand for the version, and it is 4 bits field, which is representing which version of protocol is there. Suppose we are discussing internet protocol, so here it is internet protocol version 4. Maybe it should be internet protocol version 6 also. So version is always indicating the version of protocol. Another thing, that is a header length. As we have discussed here, that is total header size. Maybe we can keep the size of header from 20 to 60 bytes. Typically people are keeping the size of header up to 20 bytes only, but we can keep the size up to the 60 bytes. So header length is producing the total size of header. It means whenever we have a size of header, so we will subtract the size of header from the total length of IP datagram. So we will be able to know that from which place data is going to be start, because it is combination of header and data. So whenever we have a specific header size, so we can determine from where actual data or actual information is going to be start. Then after there is a service field which is carrying 8-bit, so which is producing the services provided by the Internet Protocol version 4. Then after total length is 16 bits field, which is producing the total length of IP datagram, which is includes the both this thing header and data. Then after identification fields, which is carrying the 16-bit size, identification field is identifying all the components are included into the IP datagram. Then after flags are available for the locking and unlocking purpose. Like we have already discussed in operating system, we are keeping the flags zeros and 1. Same thing is here for the data transfer. We can keep the value of flag zeros and 1. Like in binary format, whenever we will keep the value of flag at any one position, so we will allow the communication, and whenever we will change the value of flag, so we will stop communication. So that's why flags are useful. Then after fragmentation, offset is available for the fragmentation and reassembly. Like we will discuss fragmentation in detail into the next slide. So we will dividing entire datagram into the smaller number of parts, that is known as a fragmentation. Whereas at a destination part, we will again combine this smaller number of parts into the common IP datagram. So that's why fragmentation offset is useful. Then after time to live, TTL field. it is useful for the timer setting. Like we have discussed the timer during the sender side and receiver side both. Whenever timer will complete, so there is need to retransmit it again. Same thing at a receiver side. Whenever timer will complete, so we will stop receiving the data. So that's why time to live field is there. Another thing, that is a protocol 8 bits, which is producing the protocol version, which protocol is going to be used. So that will be for the special purpose which protocol we are going to use. Then after header checksum. Checksum is useful for the error detection. So that's why we are allocating 16 bits to the header checksum. So in next unit of link layer and services of data link layer, we will discuss error detection and correction techniques. So at that time we will discuss checksum method in detail for the error detection. Then after source IP address and destination IP address are 32-bit field, which is carrying the address of source and address of destination, like who is sending the data and where they want to send the data. Then after option and padding, option field we can use for the additional space for any specific task. Get it? So that's why there is additional space is given for the options. So that is all about the IPv4 datagram. Same thing, let's see the fragmentation, how fragmentation is going to be occur. Suppose there are one IP datagram which is with the 4000 bytes. So out of keeping this entire IP data large datagram of 4000 bytes, we are dividing into the three parts, 1, 2 and 3. So we are keeping the size of each datagram into the 1500 bytes. So we can make a partition like this. This thing is known as a fragmentation. And another thing is a reassembly. Same thing, where a destination side we have 3 units, 1, 2 and 3, each carrying 1500 bytes. So whenever we will combine, so again we will get our original IP datagram with the size of 4000 bytes. Same next, that is IPv6 datagram format. How we have discussed IPv4, same thing, that is the advanced version of internet protocol, and some of the fields are going to be changed, which is useful for the specific task, like we have used into the IPv4 also. Thing is that transition from IPv4 to IPv6, why we are going to move IPv4 to IPv6? Because whatever the limitations into the IPv4 field, actually IPv4 is a 32-bit IPv4 is working on to 32-bit. So that's why we are getting the less number of IP addresses. Actually there is too large. Whenever we have discussed the numerical example of subnet mask and class full and classless addresses, at that time we have discussed we are getting lot of IP addresses in IPv4. But still in future we will require more and more IP addresses. That's why we are moving towards the IPv6. A transition strategies, first one is a dual stack. It means in currently whatever the components, whatever the devices we are using, like routers, switches, or any type of network components, all are feasible with the IPv4. So we cannot move directly with the IPv6. If we will move directly to the IPv6, so we have to replace all these components. So that is difficult and that is a costful. So currently we can move with the dual stack, like whenever IPv4 is feasible, so we can use the IPv4, and whenever IPv6 is required, so we will move towards the IPv6. Another thing is a tunneling. Let's see what is tunneling. It is look like whenever you will traveling to the roads. So whenever road is not possible, so on that places there is a long tunnels are there. So vehicles are traveling from that particular tunnels and again keep outside into the regular roads. Same thing in terms of IPv6, we can use the IPv6 where it is required, and in terms of tunnel we can go with the IPv4 and again we can move towards the IPv6. That is tunneling approach. Another thing is a header translation. Yeah, we can change the header to IPv4 to IPv6 permanently. So there are three transition strategies from IPv4 to IPv6, and our next topic is routing. So what is the need of routing? As we have discussed during the switching techniques, whenever data will travel from source to destination, so data will travel from the different nodes and different routes. So there is a need to forward the data from one place to another place, because data is traveling with the destination address. So according to destination address, intermediate node will decide on which direction we have to forward the data. Like whenever we are traveling to the unknown place, so we are asking the address to the Google Map or any other persons. Same concept is useful here. So let's see which are the routing strategies. So two types of main routing is there: static routing and dynamic routing. Meaning of static routing is a fixed or a non-adaptive routing. In these cases, we can't change the uh, route. Get it? Route is fixed. Whereas in terms of dynamic routing, we can choose the route according to the our requirement. Another thing that is a flooding, random routing, and flow-based routing. So according to the syllabus, we will discuss static, dynamic routing, and flooding. Let's see, start with the fixed or static routing. So these are the various number of end entities A, B, C, and D. These are the users or a end entity. We can say that end system in terms of computer network. So these are the intermediates: node number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. These are the intermediate node. It means where data is going to be stopped and again move towards the next node. And these are the distance between two intermediate node. So in terms of 1 and 2, distance between 1 and 2 is 2. Same thing in between 3 and 4, distance is 4. So these are the distance between two nodes. So which is actually stored into the routing table. Routing table or a routing directory is there, which is keeping the information of all this data or information, like information regarding to the nearest node. Let's see, these are the two node from and node to. It means it is the information of next node, like for the node 1 destination and next node, from which node we can travel. Get it? So suppose we want to travel from node 1 to node 1, so no need to take reference. So directly we can travel from node 1 to 2. We can directly travel up to 2. From node 1 to 3 we can directly travel 1 to 3. For reach 1 to 4 we have to take the reference of other nodes, like we can go 1 to 2 and 2 to 4. So next node is 2. Same thing for the 5. We cannot move directly towards the 5. So first we will go towards the 2 and then we can move towards the 5. Same thing for the 6. First we will go towards the 2 and next we will move towards the 6. So this type of information available for all number of nodes. That is the node directory we have discussed for the node 1. Same type of node directory can be possible for the node 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So according to the distance and data, you can create the node directory like this, or you can say that is a routing table. So that is all about the fixed routing. So what are the advantages of fixed routing? Because it is simple to implement, work well in reliable network with stable load. Same for virtual circuit and datagram. So both this thing, whatever technique it should be, virtual circuit or datagram, both the techniques will follow the same route. Disadvantage: lack of flexibility. It means we can't change the route. Does not react to failure or network congestion. Suppose network is congested, so we cannot slip the route towards the another track. So we have to wait and watch till the congestion is going to be clear or traffic is going to be clear. Next thing, dynamic routing. So we will discuss routing algorithms like unicast routing, multicast routing, and broadcast routing. Let's see the simple example. What do you mean by unicast routing? Unicast routing is 1 to 1. That is unicasting. What do you mean by multicasting? So it is 1 to group. Suppose there is a group of 20 nodes, again there is a group of 20 nodes, and again there is a group of 20 nodes. So we are sending to the first group, group A, that is multicast. Another group B and C are there. But suppose we want to send all of the people, total 60 nodes are there, so one is sending to all 60. The thing is known as a broadcast routing. So hope you are understanding the variation between unicast, multicast and broadcast. So in terms of unicast routing, there is a intra-domain routing and inter-domain routing. So let first understand the concept of intra-domain and inter-domain. So as per the like simple example of, you can consider the like cricket tournaments. So whenever two countries are playing with each other, like Indian Premier League, IPL. So in that case, we are dividing into the different team into the states. Get it? So that is all the states are inside the India. Just a player of 4 players from the another country we are allowing. Get it? So that is the combination of like a state level match and international level match. But whenever you will consider, look like a Ranji Trophy. So Ranji Trophy is playing between the different states of India. So we can say that that is intra-domain routing. Same thing, match outside the country. Look like two countries, India and Australia is playing, or India and New Zealand is playing. So that is known as an international match. Same thing here, that is a inter-domain routing and intra-domain routing. Intra-domain routing means routing inside the network, and inter-domain routing means routing between the two different networks. So that is in terms of intra-domain, that is distance vector routing and link state routing, two strategies, whereas in terms of inter-domain routing, there is a path vector routing. So distance vector routing can be implemented by the routing information protocol, RIP, whereas link state routing will be can be implemented by the OSPF, Open Shortest Path First, and path vector routing can be implemented by the protocol BGP, Border Gateway Protocol. Let's see one by one. We have already discussed the intra-domain and inter-domain. Intra-domain means routing inside the network. So suppose there is a one network, so routing inside this network. But whenever we are communicating from one network to another network, so this thing is known as inter-domain routing. And for that purpose, we are using BGP, Border Gateway Protocol, because there is need to cross the border from one network to another network. Let's see intra-domain routing. First two techniques, distance vector and link state. So in terms of link state routing, how we can implement the routing strategy. So let's see with the steps. First step, that is it is our older figure, whatever we have discussed during the static. Same figure we will use for the another techniques also. So first, that is distance between A to C is 2, distance between A to B is 5, distance between A to D is 3, C to E is 4, and C to B is 4. So every node have a information about the nearest node, like A have a information, D is 3 far away up to 3 unit, C is far away up to 2 unit, and B is far away up to 5 unit. So A has a information regarding to their 3 neighbor nodes. Same thing, every node have a information regarding to the neighbor nodes. Now first step, we will start from the A. Set route to the A and move A to the tentative list. We are using two lists, is here permanent list and tentative list. So first both the lists are empty, and we will put A into the tentative list. In next we have a information about the nearest node. So whatever the nearest, C is a with the minimum unit cost. So first we will add C into the tentative list, and we will add A into permanent list. So let's see, we are adding A into permanent list and remaining nearest node into the tentative list, because these are the neighbor nodes. Out of these three, we are using adding C into the permanent list. Why? Because C is nearest. Next, total two nodes are remain, B and D. So out of B and D, D is a nearest. So next, we will add D into permanent list, and we will add E into the tentative list. Get it? Because E is a next to next node from the C. So same thing, into the next we will add B into permanent node, and then after E into permanent node. So we will go one by one in sequence. So that is the all about the link state routing. Now see, so that is the information about the node A. You can keep the table of every nodes. Distance vector routing, it will work in initialization, sharing and updating. So let's see, that are the routing information of table A. It means distance of A to A is 0, A to B is 5, A to C is 2, A to D is 3, and A to E is unknown. We don't know how much far away node E is there, so that is infinite. Same thing like node A, each node have their own routing table, B, C, D and E. Now we will share the information about the other routers table. So E is unknown, but we can travel from A to C and C to E. So we will share the table of A and table of C, these two tables. We will compare table of A and table of C by sharing. So that is the C's table. Distance of C to A is 2. It is 2. Distance of C to B is 4. That is 4. Distance of C to C is 0. Distance of C to C is 0. And distance of C to E is 4. So that is C's table. Now that is A's table. So we will compare. Here distance of C to A is 2. So again here is 0. So it will be 2 plus 2, 4. Like we will go through next node C. Get it? Why this is 4? So suppose we are going A to C. So there is distance 2 plus again we will go C to A plus 2. So total it will require 4. Get it? Now distance of B. So it will 4 and here that is 5. But we will go with this C. So what is happening? We will go A to C 2 and then after C to B. So 2 plus 4, it will be 6. Again for A to C and then after C to C, it means 2. So that is 2. And D is unknown because there is no direct link from C to D. So that is unknown. And E is 6. Why? Because A to C is 2 and C to E is 4. So 2 plus 4 is equal to 6. So that is S modify table. And we have a S old table and S modify table. So it is not necessary always modify table is true. Because let's see, we will compare the distance of A. So here it is 0 and here it is 4. So we cannot go with the modify table. We have to compare both the table, older one and modified, and we will choose the minimum. Here 0 and 4, so we will choose 0. Here 6 and 5, so minimum is 5, we will choose 5. Here 2 and 2, so we will choose 2. Here unknown and 3, so we will choose 3. Here unknown and 6, so we will choose 6. So that is our final table we will get by the distance vector routing. Same thing, we can create this type of table with the other node B, C, D and E. So finally all unknown places we will be able to found. So that is all about the distance vector routing. And now that is path vector routing. Same thing, it is working with the initialization, sharing and updating. Suppose here network number 1, 2, 3 and 4 networks are there. Now consider A1 want to know about the B1. So first A1 will reach up to the uh, consider in place of A1 consider A3. A3 want to go up to the B3. So what is happening? First A3 will go up to the A1 because A1 is a main node of a particular network. So everyone can go outside through the A1. So A3 will reach up to A1, A3 to A1, A3 to A1, then after A1 to AS1, AS1 to AS2, AS2 to B1 and B1 to B3. So that is the actual path. Get it? Same thing, we can calculate this type of path will for the all of the nodes. So that is path vector routing. Multicast routing, as we have discussed, we are sending the data to the particular group. Like total there are 6 nodes, but we want to send only 4, 5 and 6. So we can send from node number 1 can send data towards the 4, 5 and 6. That is multicast routing. In terms of broadcast, node is sharing data towards the every other number of nodes. And one thing is flooding. Flooding means we are sending data to the every side. Suppose we have a one data packet, so we will send it to the this data packet is going to be sent to the node 2 and node 3. Now node 2 will receive this packet, 2 will send towards the 6 and 4, and 3 will send toward the 4 and 5. Let's see. Get it? So that is second step. Again 4, 6 and 5 will receive all these packets. So 4 will send towards the every other directions towards the 6 and 5. 5 will send toward the 4 and 6, and 6 will send toward the 4 and 5. So it will generate a duplicate packets. Let's see. Get it? So that is the duplicancy. It means it is a limitation of flooding. So these all are the routing strategies. Hope you are understanding very well. In our next session we will start link layer and local area networks.